What's up, you beautiful collectors? This is Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And on today's episode, thanks to the support to Draw Me a Dream, as well as other patrons, we're going to be taking a look at the new Transformers The Last Knight Deluxe Class Autobot Drift. As you can see, part of the Premier Edition, you also got that Transformers logo here, as well as the Last Knight logo down on the bottom. You got a really cool image of Drift in his very action kind of looking sort of samurai mode, as well as an open window that fully showcases the figure. Now, for the most part, he is a repaint of the Age of Extinction Drift, but he also does have some remolded parts. We'll get into all that here in a little bit. On the side here, you got an image of him which looks absolutely terrific. I love the way that looks. And it says that he's a master swordsman. On the back of the package, you got images of his robot as well as his vehicle mode. And then images of the other figures that are in this wave, that being Steelbane and Autobot Squeaks. And then, of course, at the top, you got images of Bumblebee, Optimus Prime, and Drift. But for the packaging on this guy, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have the new Transformers Last Knight Deluxe Class Drift opened up out of its packaging and obviously in his vehicle mode. And as you can tell, the biggest difference that you're going to notice is going to be here in vehicle mode. Number one, his colors are completely different. As opposed to mostly blue, he's now mostly black with red. And instead of being a Bugatti Veyron, or Veyron, however you say it, he's now a Mercedes. I do remember hearing rumor some time ago, now for comparison, here's the original one. I remember reading somewhere that they initially wanted the Drift to be red. But Bugatti didn't have a red version of their car, and it was going to take too long to produce one or something along those lines. So they went with blue. Now, obviously, they can go with the red color that they basically wanted, and you get a lot more of the red in his robot mode. The other thing, and it just seems to be like a financial thing, is this car's like a $2 million car, whereas this one is like a $130,000 car. So, in the grand scheme of things, when you're talking about millions and millions of dollars for a production of a movie, cutting off $2 million for a car to go down to one like this is pretty good, sound financial kind of decision making. But here you have it. Now, this is what's ridiculous, is you look at this and it is completely different. I mean, the only thing that I'm seeing, like the tires are the same. That's about it. Everything else is completely different on it. One thing that's also kind of interesting is that he's now basically upside down. When you flip this under and you look at the bottom section and you do that with here, this was the top of them. So what they literally did was they remolded the car. So like now the back of them is the top, whereas the front was the top on them. So that poses some problems in the fact that this section right here actually became his chest in robot mode. He now has a faux chest, which may bother some people, but vehicle mode wise, if I didn't tell you that these were the exact same figure for the most part, you probably wouldn't be able to notice. I mean, everything is really very cool. I mean, you look at it and I'm just blown away by what they were able to do. Essentially what they did was they reshelled them. So all this back section here has completely been redone. And that really does actually impress me. As you can see, color-wise, he looks pretty nice. You got a nice silver Autobot logo right there on the pretty much a matte black kind of paint. You got the red stripes along the side. You got the red rims on the tires. Nice silver here for the grille and the Mercedes logo. You got some blue for the headlights. The only thing that I think is really missing in terms of paint detail between this and what I've seen in the actual car is that like around the lower section is a red kind of like pinstripe, but you couldn't see any of that because man's in the way. Around there is like a red pinstripe. So maybe that's what the car will add. But really very, very cool. You got some Mercedes logos like right there, obviously, as well. Now you can see that he does have a little bit of gold kind of hanging out right there. That's from his head. But when you have it down like that, I mean, his weapons are underneath there. That's pretty much the same. It rolls fairly well. In general, I just think it looks really good. I have such a hard time. I love the way that the Bugatti looks. It's just a very cool look. But I also really like how this figure turned out. Now, we don't know if he's going to be a triple changer again in this movie, so, you know, we'll see if we'll get, like, a helicopter version of him. But for his weapons, much like the original, I mean, you had that here as well, where they kind of stored here, but instead of, like, the feet where they pegged into, because now the feet are where the pegging point is. You can see the little holes right there. These pegged up here towards the chest section again. So, again, basically what you're looking at is the figure upside down. And because they remolded the chest and have this being completely different, they removed those little holes in slot sections where the original swords would actually tab into, and they put it down here at the bottom. One thing that I am feeling, though, is that the original ones are a much more solid plastic. These are a lot more rubbery. These are the exact same as well, but the material is definitely a softer material as I'm feeling it, and that's a little unfortunate, especially since you can see they came out of the package a little bit warped. Now, that's a little bit of a bummer, I guess, but you see it more with the small blades that he comes with. So setting this all off to the side, I am going to go over through the transformation because it is similar but different. When you get to the robot mode, it's almost exactly like this. So it really is pretty impressive. So much like that original one, we're going to pop these off and just swivel these around just like so. Come around here, you detach this, and then pull this back section up and away. Kind of lift that up like so. This whole bit here will then accordion down like that. This rotates around, and then it's just going to kind of tuck up right there. Come down here to the legs, split these, rotate these down. The transformation on this is actually simpler than what was on the previous one. Rotate that, and then have these little arm hinges right here. I should angle up a little. And then much like the original one, these kind of hinge out like so. Do that on that side as well. And then again, well, actually, let's see, collapse this all the way up like so. Oh, I forgot. You got weapon storage for his small blades that are on the back here, as opposed to the original guy where they pegged into the backpack. These actually peg onto his actual back, which I think gives a much closer and better looking appearance. So just rotate those around. Like I said, they store there in vehicle mode. You just have to rotate them. Then bring this up. That tabs in along the back. Straighten everything out. And play around with it a little bit, get it looking good. But when you're done, there you have the new deluxe class drift in his very similar but very cool looking robot mode. And here's where you're seeing a lot of the elements from the previous figure that were carried over. Again, there was some remolding, and a lot of the color is obviously dramatically different, but he does have a similar look, which I think is accurate because he does have a similar look in terms of how he appears in the movie, so it makes sense to keep the toy kind of looking like this. So getting the comparisons out of the way right away, setting him off to the side. Here is the previous version. Now, I shouldn't have these with him. I just think that these look a little bit better. These are his actual weapons, but you can see that body-wise, there's a lot that is basically the exact same. Legs here are the same. The little bits right here on the side, those are obviously different, but the arms also the same. The thighs are the same. Even from what I can really tell, the helmet is the same, but the face does appear to be different, or they're just using better paint. It's kind of hard to tell. And I mean, one thing that does kind of bum me out is, like, this is really loose on him, so he does have a tendency to want to kind of topple forward. I could probably fix, oh, that's a pin, so I don't know how I can actually fix that. It's not bad. I mean, he stands there okay, but it isn't nearly as secure as the previous one. But then you see the back, and that collapses completely differently. As I talked about, I love how instead of these holes that are on the back that do kind of sit further away from the body, they put the new holes on the actual back of the figure, which makes these look a lot better, I think. Looking at these are even different. Similar, in terms of having that same kind of design, but obviously because they are completely new pieces, they're going to be different as well. So, it's just amazing to see how similar the pieces are, yet have a completely different look almost. Torso-wise, you can see, has been redone. This entire thing is new, although it does have similar looks to the original one. This entire section is a newly molded piece. And obviously, because this has that section where it folds down for the transformation, this one doesn't. So it gets a little bit different. But taking a look, or I should say a little closer look at the head, it's kind of hard to tell. It's a similar design. I'm not 100% certain if it's... Well, no, actually, because when you look at the original one, he's got a little beard that comes down. The new one does, but it's not as pointy. So I think the head, or at least in terms of the face, is completely different. The actual helmet, I think is the same. That I don't think is different at all. This has a little, almost like, well, I don't want to say that's a light pipe thing, although it might be. I think they replaced that with just the black section right there. So I think that the helmet is the same, but the face, I'm really, now that I'm looking at it closer, I think is a completely new one. And you can just see that the amount of detail in there really just does look terrific. I mean, this one wasn't really all that bad, but you can definitely see, if it'll focus for me, there we go, you can definitely see that it almost looks like the paint is a little bit too thick, kind of hides some of those details. So that's why I was a little bit, I guess, confused on whether or not it was a new head sculpt on here. But you can see just all those details really coming through. That looks absolutely gorgeous. Now for his articulation, it is the exact same as the majority of the body is the same. You got a nice ball joint here for the head. The shoulders here, I do feel a little bit concerned about these. As I'm rotating them, it feels like it's a softer plastic, and as I'm doing it, it feels as if it's twisting the actual little peg right here. It's not bad, but I'm trying to remember. I don't think the original one had that. No, the original had a very kind of fluid motion in the arms. So that's something that I feel is a little bit unfortunate. It's a little bit thicker, it seems. I guess you could say that he's got a little bit of a shoulder joint right there, but it also does hinge outward like so. He does have a soft ratchet here at the elbow. You can kind of hear it, and then it also does rotate at the elbow. The wrists do hinge forward and back, come down here to the waist. I'm dropping stuff. Nothing at the waist. It's all kind of connected, but the hips are on kind of universal joints. They move forward and back, and these are a little bit loose too. I wish that was a little bit tighter. And then pretty nice and tight outward motion there. He does rotate at the upper part of the thigh, bends here at the knee, and then you got the ankle that moves forward and back. Again, I do wish that some of the joints were a little bit tighter. I don't know if floor polish would help with that, because like I said, it's pinned in there. You can see the pin kind of right there. So I don't know how that works. But all in all, I mean, really great looking figure. I kind of, you know, looking at like his torso, it gives him a different kind of look, where he looks like he's a little bit more lean than the previous one. I mean, I'm totally noticing that now because of how kind of, I guess, blocky the upper torso is. It looks like he's a little bit more chunky. So the new one, I do think looks better. I still really like the original one, but I really do think that this is an improved looking figure. I'm very, very happy with him. Now, she's from back, again, like I said, you can actually remove these, or you can just kind of rotate these around and fit them along the back section, but with the small handles kind of facing up. So you can store those very nicely. And then just come around here, kind of get that out of the way, fold this down, rotate this around like so, do that on both sides. You can then squeeze these two halves together. Maybe, there we go, yeah, squeeze that, just like that. Kind of take this, lift this up, rotate this around. You can then fold this out, bring that down like that, come around here to these arms. You want to take these and, like I said, hinge these up, kind of closing in that gap, and then bring the hands down along the side, just like that, and they just kind of sit right there, and kind of push him in there, kind of straighten his head out a little bit, bring this down. This will tab into place, kind of just squeeze everything together, bring this down, fold this over, bring these out. This back section here tabs into the upper section of his arms. Do that there as well, and that kind of popped up. You're just kind of squeezing these and getting them to kind of sort of lock in and right along the back. There you go. And then fold this out. Kind of, again, squeeze that in there. Do that on this side. Squeeze that in there. And then again, you're just kind of squeezing. The Transformer squeeze. So, I'm stealing that from my buddy Chuck Dog. So, there we go. Get that like that. And then when you're done, there you have Drift back in his vehicle mode. When it comes down to it, though, this new version of Drift is a little bit more shell-formery than the previous one. But really, not by too much. But it definitely has a much more simple transformation than the earlier one. Both of them are really simple to transform, so it really isn't much of a kind of regression, I guess. But I will understand when people say that they don't like this because it's too much of a shell former. I'm honestly impressed though with what they were able to do with basically that base figure and completely reshell him to look like a completely different car. That's pretty cool if you ask me. If you're a stickler like I am for accuracy in your displays, this is obviously one that you're going to want to get, as he doesn't have that Bugatti alt mode anymore. And honestly, I think that the colors of the black and red just stand out a little bit better than the blue. Don't get me wrong, I love the blue color. I just think this looks cooler. And ultimately, that's how I feel about the entire figure. I just feel he looks cooler. So all that being said, if Drift here is a figure that you'd like to add to your collection, he will be available at various retail locations fairly soon. So if you're looking for him, good luck and happy hunting. Or as always, there's Big Bad Toy Store. So all you have to do for that is click on the link down in the video description. You'll go to BBTS where you can check out availability on this guy, as well as the rest of the wide range of Transformers The Last Knight figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been Optibotimus. Don't forget that if you like this video, to please hit that thumbs up button. It goes a long way towards helping me out, and I'd really appreciate it. Also, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe in case you haven't already subscribed. That way you get instant email notifications whenever I upload a new video, and you never miss out on a future review of mine. Or hey, if you're already subscribed, do me a real quick favor and click on that bell right below this video, and double check your settings to make sure that they're set so that you get those email notifications. And as always, until next time, till all are one.